Namaskaram, everyone. My name is Aparna Chandrasekhar, and I am the president of the Yada Youth Committee. I will be your host for the evening. So it is my pleasure today to be hosting today's interactive session where we will be conducting our workshop on an introduction to the basics of photography, conducted by Srikanth VK. Srikanth uncle, we humbly welcome you to our Yada platform. So here's a few words about Srikanth uncle before we begin. Srikanth VK is a trained and certified naturalist/photographer. His love for nature and conservation has helped him in his journey as a nature photographer. Srikanth brings back unseen perspectives from all his trips. Srikanth is also an established wedding photographer and cinematographer in the Valley. With every wedding he shoots, he endeavors to do better than the last. Srikanth and his team of photographers and cinematographers specialize in wedding photography and films, where they strive to create timeless memories for you, which are candid, emotional, offbeat, and fun. Srikanth uncle has also worked on ad films and short films. Srikanth uncle, the Yada team is so blessed to have you here, and we are so grateful to have you on our stage today. So, all of this being said, I will now turn it over to the legend himself, Mr. Srikanth VK.
Thank you. Thanks, Yada, for this opportunity, and I'm so happy that I could, I could be here and share what I have learned with Yada today. So yeah, so before we start, right? So I want to make this session as more interactive. I see that we have few participants here, and I'm hoping that that could be more joining in as we go on, right? So I want the participants to introduce yourself now. Like, can you all unmute yourself and talk to me and introduce yourself to me so that I'm going to make this more interactive. So I'd like to know who's listening in. So let's talk.
Okay, well, I can start us off. As you all know, I'm Aparna, and I have been doing photography in the past. So small little snippets, just whenever we go on vacation. I really like nature photography, but I've never had a proper method to execute them. I've never learned a proper method, so I'm very excited for this workshop.
Nice. That's good. Who else? Who's next? I see Akhilesh. I see Yada AZ. Oppo A5.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good.
Yes, may I know your name?
Good. Rahul.
Hi, Rahul.
Hi.
So, do you like photography, Rahul?
Yeah.
Okay, so what are you looking forward to learn today?
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay. Do you take photos at home? Do you use your parents' phone to click pictures?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you like photography, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Okay, nice to have you, Rahul. Who else?
I also take photos with my camera, DSLR.
You also take. Oh, that's wonderful. What camera you have?
A Sony A7 III.
Sony A7 II. Wonderful, wonderful, awesome. Very good, very good. Mhm. Okay, nice, Rahul. So we will definitely talk more about Sony as we go on to the session. Okay, good that we have somebody using Sony A7 II. That's nice. All right, let's see who else is there today.
Hi, Srikanth uncle. I'm Akhilesh talking.
Hey, Akhilesh, how are you?
Good. How about you?
I am doing good, Akhilesh.
So I have about 2 questions for you.
Okay.
So my first question is I would like to know the difference between a proper camera and a cell phone camera.
Wonderful. That's a great question, Akhilesh. I would be more than happy to answer that for you. What is your next question?
My next question is what is a camera made of?
What is a camera made of? Wonderful. That's great. That is something which we are going to look into today. Okay. So, yep, I'm going to answer those 2 questions for you. Okay. So, let's see. I think we have one more participant. I read the name as Oppo A5. Let's see if he or she has anything to add on. Then we can get started. Hello, Oppo A5. Speak up. Okay. Let's get started now, right? We already have some good questions here. So that's nice. So today what we are going to do is I have see, the thing is photography is like an ocean, right? And we want to talk about basics of photography here today, but we don't want to go into detail today because I would love to though, but we will not have the time to go through it. Okay. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. Aparna, can you help me grant access for me to share my screen?
Sure, one moment. Okay, can you try now?
Let me try. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so like I said, I'm not going to go through in detail, but I'll just go through in high level, like what you have to learn. So I might just go through this material quickly, and later on I will share this material with the team so that if somebody is interested, they can, they're welcome to go through this in detail. Okay, so history of photography, it derived from a Greek word called as light to draw, right? So that's how the term photography was formed, and it was used by scientist Sir John Herschel in 1839. And let's talk about evolution of photography and equipment, right? So Akhilesh, you are asking me a question, what is camera made of, right? So your answer
Yeah.
starts right here now, okay? So back in the days, there was just pinhole cameras, as you can see, okay? So there will be a box and there will be a sensor in the box which can observe the image. Um, and there will be a film which they will put inside the sensor. So there will be a pinhole which will invert the image and it will record it. So this was the first camera in the history, right? This is how cameras evolved. So then later on, when it comes to modern photography, they started using, you know, cameras like these. These cameras, they look small here, but actually, you know, they are huge, you know, because back in the days, while constructing a camera, it was not as easy as today, right? Because they were also learning to construct. So as we go on, right, I'm going to go through it a little quickly here. So what is the camera made of? Okay, so let's talk about that. So camera as such, if you see, it is a device, right, which absorbs light. Okay, so now I can see Akhilesh keeping his hand in his chin and looking into the screen. That's fine. What I'm trying to say is, how am I able to see you? Because there is light in the room, right? So there is light and I can see shadows under his chin and I can see color of his shirt and I can see that, you know, the skin tone. How am I able to see everything? Because the light is reflecting everywhere inside your room and it's reflecting through you, I mean on you, and it kind of, you know, shows the tone. You know, I'm sure that you'd have learned in physics how the basics of light works, right? Say for example, if I'm seeing green color on your t-shirt, that means your t-shirt is bringing out that color light, right? It is absorbing all other colors. As you know, the BIBG or the light has all the 7 colors, but whatever is left out emits out, right? So I don't want to go into detail though, but anyway, so the point here is everything is about light. So that's the first point I want to tell everybody. So now, how do we capture a particular moment is the question here, right? So they have something called sensors. As the name itself indicates, sensor is nothing but sensors, they absorb light. Okay. So back in the days, have you heard of film cameras? Yes or no? No? Okay. So these days we click a picture, then we copy it to the computer and we kind of, you know, share with friends and family and we print it if you want. So this is called digital photography, right? But back in the days, there was no concept of digital photography, but there was concept of photography with negatives and films. So the technology back then, now it's been digitalized. Back in the days, there used to be a small thin sheet of, you know, with plated with some chemicals. So that particular sheet, it is photosensitive, right? Which can show reaction to light. So whenever light hits that particular sheet, the sheet of paper, which we call the film, then there will be some chemical reaction. Light can induce some chemical reaction into the sheet, and that chemical reaction is nothing but it's recording the image into the sheet. So that's how film camera used to work. But later on, we came into this digital world. They said, no need to have film. We can have, you know, digital cameras with sensors which can do exactly what the films can do. So later on, what happened was we evolved with digital cameras, and you know, there are 2 types of sensors in digital cameras. There is large sensors, small sensors, and there is pros and cons for both the sensors. I will not go into it now, right? So that's how you know, here is a example here, right? Different kinds of sensors, right? So because see, everything, like today you drive a car, you have so many models of cars, right? So the same way, there are different types of engines, right? Even in the science of photography, when it comes to the camera equipment gear, the hardware has a lot of options. There are different types of sensors, and you know, because there are many companies who make these sensors. So as you can see, some of them are made by Sony, some of them are made by Canon itself, some by Sigma, some by Nikon. So it goes on. But the popular sensor formats are called as full frame or 35 mm equivalent, which is what it is, right? A popular sensor, today if you take a full frame camera, the camera, say for example, what I'm having here, this we call it as a full frame camera. What do we mean by full frame? It is meaning that any full frame camera has a bigger sensor, right? So if I remove the lens from the camera and show you, can you see the small mirror inside? Behind the mirror is the sensor, right? So whenever I click an image, there is a shutter, like a screen, which opens and closes, right? Which goes and it goes like this. So I get to control the speed of that. We'll talk about that soon. But the point here is we are exposing the sensor to the outside light. And whichever scenery or whichever frame I'm exposing it to, it's going to be recorded as an image here. How are we going to take control of the particular frame? What are the various aspects we can control? We can talk about that a little later. But I would like to pause here, and see, are you all with me so far? Is it so far? Do you have any questions on what we have covered? Akhilesh.
I don't have any questions.
Actually, I have a question. So you have so many different types of sensors, right? Does it create a different effect in the photography if we use a full frame sensor as opposed to a different type of sensor?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it creates an effect in the sense that, see, when it relates to the quality of the photo what we are going to use, and also there is cost involved behind this, right? A full frame sensor, as the name itself indicates, right? The sensor is bigger, so it can absorb more area of light. So it's going to be the quality of the picture, the pixels, right? So the size of the sensor is proportional to the number of pixels you are going to get in your image, and that's again going to add value to the quality of the image. A smaller sensor might only cover a smaller area, right? But it cannot cover more pixels. But it can be, it depends on the usage actually, right? Say for example, if there is a ad film company who wants to print a life-size banner, so they don't want to see an image, a bad image quality, right? They need something which is crisp and clear. So they need to really record that picture. They need to take a picture in a good sensor where it records each and every sensor, every pixel there. So that is just an example. So that way, full frame, maybe I can say this, right? Bigger the sensor, better the quality of the image. Okay. So again, there are various types of cameras from beginner, amateurs to pro, and for most of what we shoot today, right? Again, not all full frame camera owners are going to be ad film shooters or are going to be printing images which is life size. Again, it is also it's a question of requirement there. Some people just like to have it because they want the clarity in their images. So I have it because I print my images sometimes, and I need the clarity in my in my photos. And I do have crop frame sensors too, smaller sensors. So because sometimes I use it just for documentary. If I'm shooting something, I don't want to carry an expensive camera and shoot something. Rather, I would just use something smaller. So it's easier to carry. Also, off late, if you see, right, the digital photography has been going into a new level of evolution. We call it as mirrorless, which is a very small camera, right? The camera size is only this much, right? So if you look at this camera, right, it's a big camera to carry and hold. So mirrorless, we are only talking about 1/3 of this size. So it's like, again, it's all with cost again. So and this is how company also makes money, right? So they need some specs and everything, right? About, say, for example, a car which has 2-cylinder versus a car which has 3 cylinders, right? Aparna, I hope I answered your question here. right?
Yeah, you did.
Okay. So that's about the sensors here, right? So before even we go deeper into what camera, what settings, right? I will go into this, but before that, let's talk about some fundamentals here, right? So if you want to be a photographer, right? If you want to be a photographer, you could be more creative, right? Let's take somebody as example who loves to be creative, who has an eye to look into a particular scenery, right? Um, Not everybody has that eye. Some people they develop that taste, right? So for somebody has that perspective, it could be just it could be just a dog sitting there, but from a photographer's perspective, they might have an angle to it which may make it look even more wow and awesome, right? So it depends. So the fundamentals are very important here, right? So of course, yes, you need to know about science of photography, right? About how the light is playing a role here. That is very important. But beyond that, basically, if somebody wants to become a photographer, right? Say, Rahul, you're using Sony A7, right? Say, if you want to become a photographer, right? There are various reasons why somebody wants to become a photographer, right? Um, uh, can somebody tell me what could be those reasons? Why somebody, say, for example, a kid like Rahul would want to become a photographer? What could be the reasons? I'll start with Rahul.
Maybe because he wants
Don't be
to
shy.
show what he thinks.
Again, show what?
I don't.
It's okay. Go ahead. You're right. Go ahead.
Yeah. So like he wants to show what ideas he has. So like what types of lighting angles.
Exactly. That's right. What other reasons you can think of? Others.
He wants to show a certain mood in the frame,
That's also
or
right. Yes.
he wants to be creative.
Yes. That's right.
That's
Yes, Akhilesh. Go ahead.
Maybe try learning how to like make the clarity very good and try like learning to like publish like your first picture. Like
Mm-hmm.
like when you keep practicing, you can like get like a bit famous, kind of like that. Maybe.
Okay. That's also right. That's true. So the question here is we're talking about why somebody would want to be a photographer, right? So that's right, Akhilesh. Let's get more answers. I like it. Let's see what Aparna has to say.
Yeah, so I think it could be just that ability to portray different perspectives of events in our world just through like the art of clicking something using different frames of light, and now you can see a multitude of possibilities.
Okay, excellent. So what you all said is very true, but I'm going to add a couple of more facts to that. Okay, so today we have social media, right? We have Instagram, we have Facebook, right? And who doesn't like appreciation? Is there somebody who doesn't like appreciation? No, we all love attention and appreciation, right? So photography, there was a survey conducted some time back, and see, a lot of people who do photography, they like it because, it really gives them that rush, when they take that picture, when they share it with their friends and family, right? When they publish it with their Instagram or Facebook, right? They feel like, wow, I have achieved something. I have done this, like exactly like Rahul and Akhilesh pointed out. I've framed something very creative. Now I can go and share it with the rest of the world, right? So that's where it starts, right? So this is when you start the journey, right? Say, for example, I started photography like 12 years back. When I started off, when I have a camera and when I have the freedom to click, when I go to national parks, right? When I go to a nice landscape, like looking into a waterfall or something, right? I just want to keep on clicking the initial days, right? So the point here is that is great. That's how we have to start. But the point here is what I want to make here is our vision should be more than that. Appreciation, yes, it feels good when somebody appreciates us. That's right. And it feels good to get more shares, more likes. Yes, that's nice. But that should not be the only goal, because most of today's photographers, they fall into that category. And what happens is they get happy very quickly. They say, oh, my friends like my pictures, that's all. And then no, you have to be more creative and not stop and keep on looking into more opportunities, more avenues. And you have to, we should not just stop at treetop, like they say, right? We have to keep on going, till, so, and eventually what happens is when you become good at something, right? Initially, you will be thrilled with all these images and everything, but as you get better at it, you would want to do something more. So this is my, I would say a good tip to photographers who are starting to learn photography now, right? It is just not about clicking and sharing with friends and family. We have to take it to another height, meaning that, there should be something to it, right? What is the difference we're doing? Okay, right? So that should be the thing. So yeah, so let's talk more on this. Okay, so let's talk about, just give me a minute. I'm going to pull something into my screen. Can you see this in my screen? Can you see the image?
Image of the camera, then yeah.
No.
No, you are not able to see. Okay, let me reshare this.
Yeah, same. I can't see it.
Can you see?
Yep, I can. I can see that bird.
You can see that bird? Okay. So let's talk about this bird here, right? So I have clicked this bird many times. Okay, this was shot in Gilbert Water Ranch in Gilbert. Okay, that is a riparian reserve where they have 7 ponds, and this is called as an egret. You can see this bird in any of the pond any given day. Even today, if you go, you'll see this bird. But the point is, there were days I used to click this bird, landing or just walking or looking into my camera. But a bird catching the fish, that doesn't happen all the time. It does, like how we eat, they also eat, right? But for which we need something called as patience, right? So you'll have to wait for that moment to happen and catch that moment, right? So this is my point here, right? So if you're shooting a bird or a landscape, right? Anybody can shoot, because today's there are cameras, there is digital cameras, and everybody has access to, even cell phones can shoot pictures. Always ask yourself, okay? This is going to be a very important tip of the session, right? Always ask yourself, what is that I have differently captured to be proud of? That question should come. So whenever you take a picture, right, you should ask yourself, am I the only one who made this picture, or there have been people? Okay, maybe others would have made this picture. What is that I have done here to outdone others? So that question is what is going to make you go deeper, explore more into photography. So this is what this is the mood I would like to set for somebody who wants to, become a photographer. This should be the perspective. It's just not about clicking everything, it's just not about knowing the camera settings. Yes, the science is important, but the goal should be like, you should always aim for doing something different than somebody who has not done it. And that's what makes you outstanding. Otherwise, what happens is, today we have so many singers in the industry, for an example, right? We have so many musicians, right? Everybody can sing, for example, everybody can sing basic, Sarali Varsai, for example, if we talk about Carnatic, right? But who can sing it better, right? Who can, who can do it better than others, right? So that's where we are coming at here. Anyways, going back.
I have a question, Uncle.
Go ahead.
So like, how long did it take you to like take that picture? Because like, you definitely would have had to like wait for the bird to catch that fish, right? So like, how
So
long did it like, take? Yeah.
this picture you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a good question, Akhilesh. So something about bird photography, right? So
Yeah.
there are different genres of photography. Something about bird photography, what is very important is light. Okay. So you see the soft light here. You see that, right?
What?
The light is soft. The light is soft,
Yeah,
meaning
it
that
is.
the light is given in Arizona. It's always bright and sunny. So I need to choose a day where the weather is overcast, like where the or I have to go early in the morning. Okay, so I'll answer your question, but I'm telling you, I'm giving you a better answer here with what exactly happened that day. So this image, I was there at 6 o'clock in the morning. Okay, after 7 o'clock, it's very tough to shoot in Phoenix conditions, given the sunlight, and we need light for photography, but we don't want too much light. You understand?
Yeah, we need the perfect amount of light. We cannot take like too much because then
Too
it'll
much
become
light.
yeah,
It's
then
like
it'll
this.
become too glare.
It's like, I'll
Too
give you
much
an
glare.
example here, right?
Yeah.
You have a bucket and you have to fill water. You cannot underfill the bucket. You cannot overfill the bucket. The water should be exactly to the top level, exact to get the right exposure, to get the right image. So it is light is very, very important. So I was there early in the morning and I saw this guy, moving around the lake, and I could see that he's hungry and he wants to eat. And couple of times he caught a fish, but I couldn't catch him because he was facing the other side. And I know these guys, when they start fishing, they fish for a while, at least for 10, 15 minutes, and they take a break, and again they start fishing. So I was spending close to 2 hours with this guy that day, with this bird, and I was, 2 hours to get this particular frame where exactly I could see his eyes, right, and where exactly I could see the entire fish. That's what matters. I have other images where you can just see the fish in the beak, but you cannot see the eyes of the fish. So like this is where we are going into detail here, right? So I have seen many number of pictures where a bird catching a fish, but I want to catch it in such a way that nobody has caught it like this. I want to show something different, where both the eyes are seen, both the eyes of the bird, eyes of the fish, and the water dripping away from the fish, and the clarity is what matters. So when you see this picture, you can see that drama there, whatever happened, right? I want to tell a story. Okay?
Yeah.
See, again, it's not a mandatory thing and to be obsessed to tell the story behind each image. It's good to say, but there are times, yes, you have your family gatherings, your friends show up, you can take pictures, that can also be a memory and by story by itself. Not necessary that we have to be very much obsessed in creating the drama, but when it is required is when you're capturing something other than human life, right? Even human life's moments, candids are important. We'll talk about it. But when you talk about nature photography and wildlife photography, I could have taken many shots of this bird just standing there in the water and looking at me, but that's not fun, right? So we always have to aim for something more. So Akhilesh, yeah, I hope I answered you.
Yeah, you kind of did. Like all of this information kind of was the reason why I wanted to ask this question.
Good. That's a good question. Okay. So
I had another question actually. Could you screen
go
share the
ahead.
photo again? Could you screen share the photo again? I'll ask the question when you do.
1 second. Can you see it?
It's not
still loading. Okay, that's fine. What I wanted to ask was, so in the photo itself, so the bottom half, the background, the water itself is really vibrant. You can see each and every ripple so clearly. But as you go more and more to the top of the photo, the background just blurs in, right? Was there a specific reason you did that? Did it add to the drama of the photo, as you put it?
1 second. Hold on. Let me
Okay.
bring this photo to the front.
I can't see the photo.
Sharing is paused. Bring your shared window to the front.
Is it possible like to open it and then reshare it? Because I can't see it.
Yeah, just give me a minute here.
Yeah.
Okay, opened it. Going to reshare it. There we go.
Wait, this. Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, I can see that PDF.
You can see the PDF.
Yeah, not the actual bird photo.
Yeah, same.
There we go. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so you see how on the bottom, the water, the ripples are so in focus. There's such a sharp focus on that. But as you go higher and higher up into the photo, the background just seems to blend away. It just seems like a bunch of faded out hues. Whereas in the bottom, we can see shadows, ripples, water droplets. Was there a specific reason why you did that?
So this is called depth of field in photography. Okay. So this is what optics work. Actually, we are trying to pop out the image, right? We're trying to pop out the image. So let me show you something.
I have another question.
Sure, I'll definitely give me a minute. I'll just answer to Aparna's question. Then we will go into the next question.
Actually, never mind.
Sure. I love questions. More the questions is good, you know. So can you see what I'm sharing here?
No.
No, not yet. The screen is kind of frozen on the bird.
Yeah, it's slightly moved, but it didn't go after that.
Let's try that again.
Can see it now.
Now?
Yes.
Yes.
I can see the deep and shallow thing.
Okay. So Aparna, so to answer your question, right? It's the same image, right? It's the same image. The dog face is same, right? On one image, one half of the image, if you see the woods in the background. Another image, you see the blur out background. Okay. So it's the perspective what you wanted to show, right? So one thing is the depth of field, right? Whenever the depth of field is shallow, you get to see we call it as a bokeh. The blurriness in the background, in the world of photography, we call it as bokeh. Okay. So when there is a bokeh in the background, the image pops out. Okay. So that's when the depth of field is shallow. Okay. We'll talk about what is depth of field and how the word shallow and deep is associated with it. But just for now to answer you, right? Deep, when the depth of field is deep, you see everything. Okay. So what is depth of field? Okay. Now we are seeing this photo of the dog in the center, right? Imagine you are seeing the photo in the side. Okay. I'm sorry. Imagine you're seeing the photo on the side. The dog is in focus from the head. This is, say, for example, this is the head, this is the tail. Okay. So the field in focus is just that area. Okay. So uncle, I want to understand this even better. If you say that, what you do is take your index finger. Everybody take your index finger. Okay. Now bring it closer to your nose and keep on staring at the index finger. Just bring it this close. Now, as you are looking into the index finger, can you see what is in the background? The background is blurry. The background is blurry or not? If you concentrate on the index finger, what is behind is your monitor. Can you see the monitor clearly? No, the monitor is kind of blurry, right? So, but if you keep the index finger here and see the monitor behind, do you feel that the finger has become a bit blurry? Not on the nose, just little away from the nose. Okay, Akhilesh. So this is how the optics in the eyes they work. Okay, so the same way the camera also works that way. Okay, so it is what we want the camera to see. It is what we want our eyes to see, right? Like how we can adjust, right? For now, I told you to see the finger, and later I told you to see the things, the background behind the finger, that is your screen. Your eyes, they were able to do both, right? So it could do a shorter focal length, it could go a longer focal length. So when you did a shorter focal length, everything behind became blurry, only the fingertip could be seen. When you see the things far away, you could see everything in focus, right? Because that's how the lens inside our eyes, right? We have the retina inside our eyes. That's how it works. The same way, there is something called retina in camera too, in a lens, which we call it as, any guess? Yep.
Wait, so you call it the focus ring, or?
That is used to focus. That is right. Whatever I'm going to tell you, we use that to focus. Okay, so it's called the aperture. It's called the
Did you say aperture?
Oh, shutter,
aperture.
shutter. Oh,
Shutter.
No, it's not a shutter. It's called aperture.
Aperture.
Aperture. Okay. So
Aperture.
let's aperture. So before I move on to the next topic, one of you had another question.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Like when you took that picture, right? Like of that, not that bird. Like where you took that deep and shallow picture, right? Like how exactly like did you like split it into like two parts? Because like I see they're like both kind of joined together, like when you put it together. So like I'm trying to understand like how you made that mode happen.
So we just for demonstration purpose, that was did in Photoshop.
Huh?
Okay. Two images were consequently clicked in different settings.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Now I'm going to talk about how I achieved that, that result, for which I have to go through some basics of settings, which I'm going to do now.
Okay.
So then I had two images. All I have to do is split them into two and join them using Photoshop. So then again, that's a tool which we use to edit photos, and it can be achieved using the tool.
I have a question.
Go ahead. And before the next question, I see there's somebody chatting here and they have a question here. How different are wildlife photography and people photography? Okay. So now I want to know who is asking this question.
I assume it's Adya.
Wait, who's asking the question?
Someone called
I want it to be more interactive. So please come up, speak up, and so that that's a wonderful question. I'd like to answer that. So before that, let's go to Rahul's question. Go ahead, Rahul.
Sorry, this is Adya. Sorry, I wasn't able to join earlier.
No problem, Adya.
Hi,
I'll
Adya.
definitely will answer your question shortly here. Okay. So yes, thanks for joining, Adya. Yes, go ahead, Rahul.
Okay. For depth of field, use aperture, right?
Yes. Are you interested to know more about it?
Yeah. I know shutter speed, aperture, and what's it called?
ISO.
Yeah, ISO. I know what they do. Like I make my own films, but like.
Wow, very nice.
I don't really recognize like. I just like turn the wheel to find the aperture.
Mm-hmm.
But I forgot. The aperture goes when you go up, it gets brighter. When you go down, it gets lesser, right? Less brighter.
Do you know why?
Yeah, because it's allowing less light or more light inside this.
Very nice, very nice. Good, Rahul. Looks like few good things about aperture. I'll definitely talk about it, right? So I have another participant here, Vijaya. Hello. Feel free to come up with any questions. And now I'll take up Adya's question, right? How different is photography, between wildlife photography and people photography, right? So Adya, do you want a real answer or a funny answer?
Both?
Both? Okay. So both are animals, aren't we all?
Good one.
I'm curious to hear the funny answer.
So so Adya, the good thing about that's a good question here. Animals don't complain, saying I don't look good. You have not clicked me properly. Oh, my
Right.
face is looking bad here. Animals, they don't do that to me, right? But people
Okay.
do, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So, anyways, but now here comes my serious answer, right? So, wildlife photography is very challenging, I would say, because people photography. We all live in a community, and accessing people is not difficult, right?
Right.
Families
Yeah.
visit, we visit families. So, and people do, we do listen to each other and we cooperate, right? Hey, can you
Right.
please stand for a picture? They stand, we click, right? But
Right.
animals, they don't want to listen to you, right? So we have to kind of go into their habitat and we have to spend time to understand their style. Say, for example, let me show you something here. Can you see this? Yes or no?
Not yet. It says you have started screen sharing.
Yeah, it hasn't loaded. Also, I do have a question.
1 second. I'll just finish Adya's question and I'll take your question.
Okay.
More than happy to. Can you see this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So, when Adya, when you say animal photography, I'm taking even anything with wildlife, right? Again, bat is a mammal.
Right.
Again. So, so this image, anybody can guess what time of the day I took this image?
Kind of looks like. Let's see.
Night. I think it's night because
Sorry?
I think it's night, right?
It's night. Okay, that's a good answer.
Uh,
So this
I think it was
image
around the afternoon time.
afternoon
Yeah, I'm
time.
thinking the same thing.
So yeah, I can see some slight corners of blue in the left
Yeah.
corner. So I'm assuming that's the daytime sky.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Maybe it's slightly evening as well. A little bit like that.
okay. So this was shot at midnight, 1 o'clock. Okay. So this was shot using external flashlights. Okay. So bats, they don't show up in the morning, right? They are active in the night. They are nocturnal.
Right.
Okay. And for me to get this picture, I had to, 1 second, Rahul. I'll definitely take your question. So I had to understand the behavior of the animal here. And
Okay.
I came to know that there are bats flying around this pond to drink water in the night.
Okay.
This was shot in Tucson,
Wow.
one
Okay.
of the ranch where there are a lot of birds coming there. And the owner of the ranch told me, I do have bats, but they are very fast. You need flash photography and you need to trigger, right? We need a setup to do this. So we
Right.
spent one whole evening setting up lights around this place, right? And I set
Right.
up a camera. I set up a camera trap, and I was on a remote trigger, meaning that I cannot be standing there and frighten the subject because it's
Yeah.
wildlife photography. So I was inside a hide using a remote trigger, and I was clicking that trigger once in a while. And also, we also did an infrared trap for this.
Okay.
So what is an infrared trap is, again, I don't want to go into details, but why am I sharing this is, you asked me what is the difference between people photography and animal photography. I'm trying to tell you the effort and the amount of planning which we do to to take something like this. So
Right.
infrared
Okay.
trap is nothing but bats are so fast. So I keep two sensors, one in the front, one in the back. So whenever something passes, it's like your Costco light, right? When there is somebody movement, when
Yeah.
there is a
Yeah.
movement, the light goes
Yeah.
on, right?
Okay.
So and I have my camera connected to the sensor, And
Okay.
when there is something which goes there, and immediately my camera catches that moment,
Okay.
right?
Got it.
Because bats
Yeah.
are too fast. So
Right.
that's how I was able to, anyway, the point here is people photography has its own charm, right? It has its own difficulties in its own ways. But
Right.
me being a both wildlife photographer and people photographer, for me, I enjoy wildlife photography more because it gives me more challenges, which
Right.
I'm able to. And I love that rush when I get that challenge to achieve something, and also
Okay.
it gives me more opportunities to prove myself.
Right.
But again, people photography also. I'm not saying that people photography does not give you challenges and opportunities. Yes, they do give, but this is something going out on a hike, carrying your backpack, settling in there, planning for the whole day. That's a different ball game.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, now I'll take the next question.
I have a question.
Thank you.
Like, I have two
Yeah,
things.
you're welcome.
I noticed like this picture kind of looks shallow a bit
Okay.
because the background looks a bit like, what do we call that?
Yes,
Booklet.
because the focus
Blurry.
is on the bird. Yep, that was
Yeah,
intentional.
blurry.
The focus was on the. Yeah, what's your question?
Yeah. So like the focus is technically on the bird, and my question is like when you take like some pictures, right? Like, do you notice like any shadows sometimes?
You're asking me when I take pictures, do I see shadows?
Yeah, because sometimes it does occur.
So that's a good question, Akhilesh. So the point here is when you become a photographer, right? Like I said, right, learning the fundamentals is very important. So our first challenge is how to get rid of shadows. So you position your subject in such a way there is no shadow in the subject, and you create lighting in such a way there is no, it doesn't, does not have shadows. Say for example, you see this camera here, right? So this is a flash. This is a flash mounted to a camera. A flash is nothing but a gear which is used to provide light for the picture, right? When I click the camera, the flash also goes on. It's connected. So the flash can be adjusted. If I want in this direction, this direction, this direction, I can turn it, adjust it. So why this is important is when I'm using an artificial source of light instead of sunlight, I aim the flash to bounce on the walls, right? Again, it also depends on the color of the wall. That way we know what color, how much light is bouncing and what color light is bouncing. And we'll have to make sure that when the light is bouncing off the ceiling and when it hits our face, we have to see that the skin tone remains the same and natural. So if I have a green color ceiling or a red color ceiling, the person is going to look more reddish or pink, which we don't want. So we have to, that is something called white balance. We will talk about it when I get into all the different concepts inside photography, the fundamentals, right? But yeah, so to avoid shadows, Akhilesh, you need to make sure you know your light you are working with. You really need
Okay.
to know what kind of light you are working with, and you really need to know your, you really need to know, like, hey, you have to stand here because if you stand there, there's going to be shadow in the picture. So you really need to know what you're doing there, and that comes by practice. So you keep on
Oh,
clicking, click 5-6 times with shadows. Seventh time, you will definitely click one without shadow because you will understand the play of light, which is very, very important for photography. That's a great question. Yes, Rahul,
yeah.
go
So,
ahead.
Usually when I'm like taking photos, I take it with shadows, but I don't like take it in a bad way. So usually when I'm taking like photos of different like subjects, I add shadows, but I try to like evenly contrast it out. I don't just want to have like diffuse
Yeah.
light
So
all.
again, yeah. See, Rahul, we are going into detail here, right? See, shadows and highlights are important in photos, right? If I don't have shadows and highlights, I won't be able to see the depth or say for example, you will not be able to see features in your face. if you don't have shadows and highlights. That's what makes it visible. The light is what, say for example, I have grown beard, right? So you can see the highlights of of my beard, and you can see the under neck is dark, which is what creates my face. So the shadows and highlights are important, but the point here is how much, the more it is, it's going to make it worse, right? It depends on, that's another thing in photography, right? We cannot generalize one concept for all scenery, for all, it changes from time to time. There are some pictures for which shadows are great, but there are some pictures we don't want shadows, right? So let me pull up something here.
So what I do when I'm like taking people photos and I want it to be like kind of cinematic, I usually do rim lighting, where like it's cut in half. One side is bright, one side is dark. There's contrast.
That's nice.
But if I just want a portrait, I just do like 3-point lighting.
So this is what I was talking about, right? So let me know if you can see my screen.
I could see it.
Yeah, I think.
Okay, this photo here, right? So this was taken by one of my friends. Okay, so as you can see in this image, I'm going to zoom in. You can only see one side of the bird lit, another side is fully shadows, right? This was intentionally done, right? So we call this as the low-key image. Okay, we use the spotlight on the subject, right? And this was taken during a daytime. The only thing is the bird was sitting in a place where there was just a spotlight hitting the bird, and there was the remaining part of the woods were dark. Dark meaning that they didn't have much light. So you play with your camera settings in such a way that you capture only that exposure. Okay, so the same image can be taken. Say, for example, I showed you the dog picture in the woods with the background and without the background, right? I can do the same with this bird picture, showing the entire scene. Instead of having it dark, I can have it bright, showing the branches around and the forest around. But when there is a spotlight on the bird, this concept, we call it as a low-key image. This is opposite to a high-key image. A high-key image is nothing but you show a brighter background, a white background. Say, for example, Aparna's background is high key. She's sitting on a white background, right? So this is a low key on a darker background. Yep.
I had one other question actually. So I want to bring it back to the discussion we had about wildlife photography versus people photography. So obviously in wildlife photography, we can't really direct the animals to do a certain pose for us, right? They do what they want. But with people photography, we have both candid shots where they're just doing natural behaviors, and we can also direct them to do certain poses. So in a lot of the photos I've seen, the photographers direct them to do a certain pose where it's not just smiling at the camera, yet it still looks very candid. Is there a certain technique that photographers use to choose an ideal pose for the people to take in a certain lighting?
So that's a good question, right? So what happens today is, as we know that, again, talking about light, the light behind me is pretty harsh here. So I hope you can see my face.
Yeah, I can see it.
Let me try to angle it such a way. Is it better now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, so Aparna, to answer your question, right? See, today what happens is, being an event photographer myself, right? When I go and take pictures of, for example, if there is a reception or there is a wedding going on and friends and family have come,
Right.
so we make them all stand in a group and we click a picture, right?
Yeah.
So, but you know, a cell phone can do that. You know, nowadays the cell phone pictures, cell phone quality of sensors. Again, to all of you here, right? Don't underestimate the power of cell phones, right? Especially in today's the Galaxy and iPhones, they have excellent caliber to capture a moment. You know, it's like I wish when I was a teenager like you all, right? I wish I had these phones that time. where I would have, it is just everything in your hand, right? You just click, point and click. That's it, point and shoot. The phone does everything for you with all the artificial intelligence, blah, 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 right? So, so with people photography, what nowadays we can do is, we can take a picture of them staring straight into the camera, ask them to smile just for the record, right? So that will be my first picture. When I go to any event, when there is a group shot, I'll tell them all to look into the camera, and I'll tell them all that the second picture would be, I'll tell them all to make some funny faces, something different,
Yeah.
And another thing I'll say is, if they are standing around their host, say for example, if there is a birthday boy or a groom or a bride, so I will tell all of them to do some poses around. Okay. So let me quickly share something interesting here.
I
Okay.
have another question.
Go ahead.
Like, is there really like a difference like between like the proper camera and like cell phone camera?
There is a lot of difference. So all I said is, do not underestimate a power of phone camera. Okay. It's not that if you are into photography, it doesn't mean that you'll have to go ask your parents, hey, get me a camera, I want to do photography. So that's not where we start. So all I meant to say is, framing and composing that image is the first step, right? So that your cell phone cameras can do. So once you understand the framing and concept, then once you think you want to achieve more, say for example, what a digital camera can do, which a cell phone cannot do, is I can zoom into a particular subject from far away using my digital camera, because it's not the camera zooming in, it's the lens which I'm using which is zooming in, right? But the cell phone cameras, though they come with zoom options, they're very limited. Okay, they're very limited. Another thing is, it's like, how do I explain this? You all play video games, I'm sure. There are games you play, you use joysticks. Okay, you have seen your friends playing video games. We can use joystick to play, or we can even touch the screen and play games. Okay, but many people prefer joysticks while playing game. Why? Yeah, go ahead, anybody.
Because
It might give them better control.
Exactly. So it's about how easy it is to control, right? So when I have a dedicated camera, a cell phone, where we use it for talking, we use it for chatting, texting, but and we use it for photography too. But when I have a gear dedicated to that with all the buttons, right? Say for example, if you take this camera here, right? You see the number of buttons here. So everything. So when I'm shooting something, when I have to change something, my fingers can just click these numerous buttons, and that's why these cameras are expensive, right? I can quickly access a particular setting without taking my eye off. What do I gain in doing that? I don't miss the moment. Say for example, the bride and groom are exchanging garlands, right? And I am capturing that moment there. Or say for example, a bird is coming to catch its prey, and I see there's something wrong in my setting, I need to change it, but I need to be quick about it. I cannot take off my eye, dial the settings in the screen and go back, right? I need to be fast, right? So I know my camera. So I have all shortcuts buttons. That's why this is a very good question here, which is leading us to another topic. Why we have so many cameras with different price ranges, right? More the options they provide. It's like the same car with the same engine, but there are 3 variants. Only difference is it's going to have the same engine. The heart is going to be the same. The life is going to be the same. But the add-on options, the perks, what you get for usability, right? It becomes more user-friendly. So that changes. So I don't know who asked that question. Cell phone cameras, digital cameras. I hope I answered that, right?
Yeah, Akhilesh asked that.
Yeah,
I think
it was me who asked it, and yeah, it answered it.
So I wanted to share something here. Aparna, you were asking about candid moments, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to share my screen now. Show something quickly.
Okay.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So let's take.
Is this
Right.
what we call a film?
Sorry,
Is this what we call a film?
I didn't get your question. What was that?
Is this what we call a film?
No. This is all digital photography.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So this is a example of a very straightforward photo.
Yeah.
Okay. So all I had to do is ask this person to give me a pose. I said, be creative. Instead of just keeping your hand straight, give me a pose. Right. So now again, this one is also, sometimes
Standard.
such images are also required. Right. So this was our graduation party, and and they just want, like I said, not necessarily everything should be. We should not be obsessed in creating drama and story behind each images. We need such natural moments too, right?
Yeah.
The cake is there, and it tells the story by itself. The whole family, friends standing next, right? Say, so let's talk about this image here, right? That is the dance floor going on, and that is that the laser lights are popping out, right? We're trying to show something like, okay, there is a party happening here, right? So, and if you take this image here, right, this is a candid moment.
Yeah.
Okay? So a few moments before, the lady on the right, she was taking a selfie, and they were standing like that. So I said, on the same fashion, can you all look into my camera and cheer, say something funny. So everybody looked into the camera, and you see the energy in this guy who's having his hand like this. It shows, right? So sometimes, to answer your question, right? I'm going back to your question now, right? Sometimes as a photographer, you have to kind of talk to, if there is an event happening, you have to talk to the subject, saying that, hey, can you do this? You have to help them to show their energy out sometimes, right? So, and capture that right moment and frame it.
Got it. Okay. Akhilesh, were you asking something?
Yeah, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Like, where exactly, did you learn how to, become a photographer?
How to become? I missed the first half of your question.
No. I'm asking, what made you think, you should become a photographer? That's what I was asking.
So you asked me what made me a photographer?
No, what made you think you should be a photographer?
What made me think I should be a photographer?
Yeah.
Okay. So this was back in 2010. Okay. So 2009-8, I used to shoot with a point and shoot camera. Wherever I go, I really wanted to, like I was saying, that I want to capture a particular moment. I used to be very much interested in butterflies and all these macro things which we miss to see on a daily life, right? If you go to your backyard, there is beautiful wildlife out there in your backyard. We don't see it, right? If you go into ant's eye view, I would say, right? There's a beautiful wildlife there behind you. But anyway, so I used to be interested in capturing those butterflies, dragonflies. That was more of very amateur. I would say that I never used to concentrate much on settings or the clarity. Just for the record, I used to capture. But in the year 2010, my son was born. You all know his Vyas, right?
Yeah,
So I had one of my relatives who started learning digital photography, who got his camera in the year 2010. Having a camera back in those days is a big deal, especially a good digital camera. And he came and shot few images of my son with this camera, right? So I couldn't take my eyes out of those images. Probably those kind of images have been there around me, but because this time I'm associating with my son, and I was so wowed looking at the quality and the output, which I realized that I am not able to do this without learning this art. I cannot do this just like that, pick up a camera and click, and I cannot achieve that. So I told myself that I should learn to take pictures like that. And I started reading about it. I started exploring, and I started making friends who know photography. Then I got a camera for myself. Then I started investing in more lenses, and that's where it started. And like I told you that I had interest in shooting butterflies, dragonflies in the past. Now that interest for nature and conservation, right? That also helped me to channel this idea towards wildlife photography. And it's like you know what to capture. Now you have a gear to capture. Now you have learned the basics. And I know I'm still learning, but I'm just giving you an example of how it all happened, right? Then I wanted to do more and more, and I started traveling, and I wanted to document a lot of things which not many of us get to see, right? So I have been to places, I was fortunate enough to travel to places where not everybody could go. And I was fortunate enough to have a camera and fortunate enough to know how to use a camera and take some pictures out of it. So, yep. And I hope I answered your question here.
I have a question.
Go
So,
ahead.
so I'll like explain to you my story because it's kind of a longer one. So yesterday, I actually really like taking pictures of the sunset. Like I take them anytime the sunset is around and it's looking very good. So yesterday I was in the car and we were going on the highway, and I was going to take a picture of the sunset because it was around 7:30 p.m. and we were going there. And in that speed, I wasn't able to take like a good quality picture, especially on my phone. So that was another factor. But like I couldn't take like a good, not shaky picture. So do you have any tips for those fleeting moments where like quickly have to take a picture and like do that?
So definitely, may I know who's asking this question?
Oh, sorry, this is Adya.
Oh, Adya. Okay. So this is with your phone, right?
Yes, with my phone.
Okay. So this is again a very good question, and this can go into we have to go into details into it, but let me try and answer this as short as I can. So taking picture of sunlight and sunset, right? It is always challenging because either you see the sky too overexposed, right? Or you see the sky too dark, and you see the sun. You see, hey, the sun is looking like a candy, like an orange candy, but when I take it in my phone, it looks very bad.
Exactly.
It comes full blurred up. And also, you said from a moving car.
Yes.
Okay, so whatever I said now, it's tough to do it standing still. You're adding another problem to the equation in a moving car, right? So yes, it is challenging. So this is what, right? I really want to talk about some basics of photography in this session if we have time, right? Definitely, I cannot complete everything in one session. Probably I would need 10-15 minutes to walk through some basics which can answer these kind of questions, right? So give me some time, Adya. Let us get into the concept and let's use whatever you said as an example.
Just really quick, I just wanted to I was wondering, do we change the shutter speed for that, or is there a way to change the shutter speed on your phone for those kind of purposes?
Yes, you change the shutter speed for that. That's right.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I'll tell you how do we change the shutter speed.
Okay, sure.
Go ahead.
So like you would have learned like how to like do photography like from a guru, right? Like, is there like a specific person you learned from?
So I did not learn from a guru, but I mean, I cannot say that I have seen. I've seen many good photographers in the past, and I'm still seeing many such photographers, and I learn from what they create. Okay, so so beyond the point, it's a self-learning thing. But what you learn is looking at their work. You kind of learn. Oh, okay, right. So this particular photographer has done such a wonderful job with this subject, and you kind of because you know the basics of photography. So the basics of photography, how I learned is I did not go to a class or workshop that time. What we did was, it was more of self-learning with online materials and more of trial and error, right? So I can say that in the initial days, I would have taken some of the worst pictures, right? Even now, if you ask me, I have those archives. I will not want to look at it. Those so bad. Because it took me to go through that. To become, to learn something, whatever I know today. So I had to learn from my mistakes. I have to see this image. Oh, why did I use this setting? It's like it's learning the hard way that time. Back in 2010, 2011, yes, there was internet, there were materials, but not as plenty as what we have today, right? So no Yada those days. Nobody like Yada to create such wonderful workshops, right? So it was all self-learning, trial and error. So that's how it was. And later on, I started looking up to some top wildlife photographers in the country, and I started following their work, and I started learning about how they, what is the work, they say that behind the scenes, right? Before getting this picture, what is that they have done to get here for this particular moment? So I started reading about that, and I kind of, that was so fascinating. And whenever I plan my trips out, and I plan it that way. Like if I'm going to Grand Canyon, or if I'm going to, New York, or Niagara, or any place, right? I plan it cleanly. I have my agenda in front of me for the next 5 days. And if at 8 o'clock or if it's 7 o'clock, if I'm on that point for sunset, I am there. And if I am there earlier, I don't click, because I will not get that magic light that time. I don't click. I wait and go there the next day to click again. So a lot of planning requires, to get the right result. Anyways, yeah, go ahead, Rahul.
Like, so do you usually take it golden hour?
Yeah, it depends on what you shoot actually, right? So I do shoot in golden hour. Especially I like clicking portraits in golden hour, right? So especially any subject in golden hour, we call it as a magic light, right? So it's a very nice soft light, and it has that glow. It glows the subject. And yes, any photographer's dream is to outdoor photographer dream is to capture the subject in golden hour. Yep.
I have a question actually. So with digital photography, typically when you take a photo, there'll be different file formats, right? Like JPG, RAW. Is there a specific one that is better to use?
So that's a good question, right? So when it comes to formats of photography, right? So you said RAW, right? So
yes.
RAW means raw image. Okay. So again, we have not really gone into the content of the workshop, in the sense I'm happy this way. It's interactive and it's very nice. But when I go into types of, let me share this quickly. Can you see my screen now? Yes,
not yet.
I don't see anything. Oh wait, yeah, now I can see it.
Yeah, I can see.
I had a separate content for this. Let me see if I can share.
Okay.
Okay, I don't think that part is here yet. Let me. Anyway, so back in the days, we were using the negative, right? The film rolls to take pictures,
yeah.
right? So what happens is there is a chemical reaction there, right? So whenever the light hits the surface of the material, the reaction starts, and that's how the photos become negative.
Yeah, the
So
imprint
then
comes on
they-
there, right?
Yep, they imprint the image into that, and they take it to a dark room, right? They take it to a dark room, and they have a photosensitive material paper there, and they they kind of project that negative into that photosensitive paper, and the image gets recorded, right? So this is the job of a negative, right? And when doing that, based on the chemical propositions which they use to to process that image there inside the lab, that could enhance the colors or the tone, or it could alter the image. For example, back in the black and white photography days, if somebody has a big mole here, the photographer can remove the mole. So they were doing manipulations to an image, even the manual days, not even in right now we do it in Photoshop. So now, to do such alterations and manipulations, you need a different format of picture. Coming back to your question here, right? RAW. So RAW is nothing but it's like a negative. Okay. So RAW, it records a lot of data, right? So whenever I shoot it in RAW, I can adjust exposures. Okay.
So RAW gives you a tool to edit the photo however you'd like, whereas JPG just leaves it as it is.
Yep, I really wanted to show you something very interesting now.
Okay.
And let me know when you see my screen.
Okay. There's nothing yet.
Yeah, there's nothing right now.
Can I not share the whole desktop?
You should be able to do that.
Can you see it now?
Yeah, now I can see.
You can see the whole desktop.
Okay, can you see this image here?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so this image was shot in RAW. Can you see the file format here, which is CR2.CR2?
Where is that?
Can you see it here? I'm highlighting in my cursor.
Oh, yeah, I can see.
So whenever there is a RAW image, the extension says, for Canon cameras, it says CR2, CR3. Okay, so you asked me which is the good, the different extensions of images, different types of images, which is good and why we use such different formats, right? So when I take a picture in my camera, right, I set it as RAW mode.
Okay.
So the mode is RAW. And when I export the image, right, say for example, when I go export this image, you see the image format here?
Yes.
And I get to choose from different image formats, and I choose as JPEG.
Okay.
And JPEG is, it's a compressed form of, format, which can, you can even adjust the limit and the size and the quality of the image.
Yeah.
You can go for a very high resolution JPEG, or we can go for a low resolution JPEG, right? And again, better the quality, more the size. Lesser the quality, lesser the size. Depends on the requirement, right? If I have to put a thumbnail video in a YouTube video, they are not going to allow me to put a bigger picture.
Yeah.
They want me to put something smaller, right? So now the RAW image, what advantage it gives me is, can you see this image here, right? Can you see what I've done here? I'm inside a cave, okay? And there is this Hawasupai Falls here, and I'm shooting the falls, and I have to use some technical terms here, but excuse me, I'll explain that later. I've taken a slow shutter shot here, meaning that the shutter speed is slow. We wanted to get the smooth flow of water.
Yeah.
So I have a tripod here, and my camera is mounted on the tripod and focusing into the frame, and the shutter speed is slow, and I'm inside a cave. There is no light inside. Okay. So what I did was, I used to expose. I used my shutter speed, and I went with a lower shutter speed so that it can take in more light. And I had to light paint this wall here. This wall here, I used my cell phone's flashlight, and from the background, I had to just wave in front of the walls so that the
So
camera
like an artificial spotlight?
Artificial spotlight, but you cannot overdo it. You have to be.
Yeah.
It has to look a bit natural. So now, I am going to show you how was this image before and after.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So now, I want to set the context very clear here. I did not make up these colors. These colors were already there. So that's the beauty of raw image. When you shoot something in raw, right?
Right.
So let me try to move this. One second. Anybody? I'm not very. Okay, I found it. Okay. So now, can you see this adjustment sliders in the?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. So I have done some adjustments here. Okay. So what a raw image helps me is, a raw image lets me play around with all the sliders to put it in a high level, right? It gives you that it has recorded so much data, so I can play around with light so much, right? Say for example, I can increase the exposure further.
Oh, okay.
So in a JPEG also I can do that. In a JPG image also I can do that. But the problem is, it affects the quality of the image. It will look harsh. And when it comes to this, other settings like, there's something called white balance, right? So when you shoot in RAW, it protects the data what we capture there, and it kind of lets you choose around different options.
So it still preserves the overall quality, but you're still able to edit it in a way.
I'm still able to edit it in a way. It's like it kind of records like a 2-3 options for different settings. It remembers everything in that format, the raw format.
Okay, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
This is Adya here, by the way. So it's more of a general question. So when you're editing or photoshopping or like making the colors brighter, at which point in your career do you learn what types of settings make like lose the integrity of the picture? Like, how do you know that you're going too far? Like, at what point do you know?
Okay, so let's take this image for an example. This is one of my favorite images which I made in Havasupai, okay, in Grand Canyon. So this particular image, if you see here, right? So as you can see, the sun shining here, and you can see the sky is blue, and you can see it was just around the fall time. You can see some fall colors there, and also there is some greenery here, right? And you have the waterfalls, and you have some nice soft light coming to this rocks here. Okay. So that's a very good question, Adya. This is very, very important in today's photography. Like, how much of processing is too much processing?
Yeah, that's my question.
Where do we stop that, right? So the thing is, it is again, it's definitely your personal choice, right? So again, in the name of art or in the excuse of art, people do many things today. They say, "Oh, this looks like art to me, so I can do it." Yeah, you can do it, but how do you stop it, and when do you stop it? So you asked me this question: when did I learn to understand that, okay, this much is enough for this image, or I should do more? So that comes by practice. Okay. So being a photographer, if you are into photography for a while, and if you've been editing images, there comes a point you get used to, like if you are a singer, if somebody is singing bass, or if somebody is singing out of tone, you know that okay, why are they singing in C instead of G? You can easily make out, right?
Yeah.
I can, as you see images, sometimes it will look artificial, right? You kind of get an eye for that. And also when we are there, you see, for example, this particular moment where I was there in person, I was standing and looking at these rocks. You see the algae formations, they were green, but unfortunately, because of the play of light, they did not get much light to show out the green.
Right.
Okay. And this watercolor was blue. And because I'm shooting in raw is like a flat format. It just records everything. The camera doesn't do anything, it just records it as such. But when I go closer, and to my human eyes, the water looks blue and the algae looks green and the rock behind looks brown. But this is how it looked in the camera, which is not what I saw in person.
Okay.
But when we see in person, the greens are even more brighter and green. Right?
Okay.
So again, that is because of play of light. Okay. So I had to make sure, if I go into this image, right? So I have to make sure I increase the green to the extent to how much I want it.
Okay.
Okay. So this is again, you need to, doesn't mean that, Lightroom can do selective coloring. Yes, this is a tool called Lightroom, Adobe's Lightroom. Like Photoshop, this is another tool. It lets you adjust the tone and clarity of a particular highlights or shadows or a particular color. You can play around with it. But again, I know the limit to play around, right? Because I wanted to see the green as green, the blue as blue, and I wanted to stop it and to overdo it. Okay? So again, the thing is, more than overdoing it, more than I'm taking this to a forum where there are nature photographers, and I'm looking at publishing these images. And tomorrow, if someone sees, another fellow photographer sees this image, he is definitely, these are places where many landscape photographers visit. And they know, say, for example, if I'm submitting to Arizona highways, they know, the parents will know what is being overdone. So I literally need to, so what I do there is, how I weigh in there is, I stick on to what I saw. So if I'm seeing the colors this way, and my mind is set, okay, this is what I saw. Okay, let me bring out details to that level. Okay. So I kind of fix myself to that level.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Sir, I have to go now. I have to go.
So, sure, Rahul. It was nice. It was Rahul, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice having you. And I see that you have learned already a lot about photography before even this session. I see that you have been shooting a lot of things. Stay in touch. And if you have any questions, I will ask organizers of VIADA to share my email ID. You can post in your questions to me. I'm more than happy to, help with your photography career and, anytime. Okay. It was nice. Thanks for all those good questions, Rahul.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Bye. Okay. So here is what I'm thinking, right? So I definitely want to talk about the basics of camera functions and everything. But again, it can be itself into a different topic, right? I would say that, what I would request VIADA is, if I go into that kind of details, what is shutter speed, what is aperture, what is ISO, what is depth of field, what is focus, there are so many things into it. So that might not be something which all the audience can appreciate, because I'm not sure if everybody has a camera to go through it and learn that. So what we will do is, let's take some time. You find out, as I know you've been doing this events a lot. Let's find out people who are really interested into learning these settings, and somebody who has a camera ready in hand, sitting there in front of the other side of the screen, who wants to dial into the settings and learn these things, right? So that would be more suitable for such group of audience. So definitely, I'll be more than happy to do a session 2 on this in future. And that way it would. Today it was more of, we were everywhere. It was good actually, right? We were everywhere. There were different questions about basics of different types of photography and stuff, and it was very nice. But when I get into a particular basics workshop, I think we laid a strong foundation today about fundamentals. But definitely, let's do another session in future where I will do deep dive into all these various functions and settings. And definitely we would need participants with camera and participants who want to learn those settings. So I'd be more than happy to share those.
No, agreed. So I know everyone here has enjoyed this event a lot, and I know a lot of our Facebook Live viewers, our YouTube viewers, they've all really, really enjoyed it. So I think what we can do is very soon we can have a teaching session of shorts, and then in that you can cover the basics of photography. People can come prepared with their own cameras, and that way we could have a one-on-one session.
That would be excellent. Sure, definitely. Yeah. Thanks again, Yara, for this is very nice. I'm very happy that kids today can learn photography, and this is a very good platform for them to to discover something which they've been interested in for a while, and it's good. It's good that what you're doing. Very nice.
Well, thank you. I honestly, this is one of the first times we've ever had photography on our platform as an art form as a whole. So I think this has been a really unique and fresh start to introducing our new art form to this platform. So thank you so much. I know that we've all really, really enjoyed it.
You're very welcome, and looking forward for the next session with you, right? We'll definitely do a teaching session. Yeah.
Yes. All right. So thank you so much, Uncle. Thank you everyone for attending today. And it was really just a brilliant experience hearing about your perspective on photography. And I think we've all been inspired to go out and try our own hand at photography now. So thank you so much. And as always, Ramya and T, thank you so much for being a wonderful guide. This foundation, it just truly wouldn't be the same without you. And kudos to Adya as well for helping organize the event. All right. So with that, we hope to see you all in our next event on August 15th, which will be our Independence Day special in tandem with Bharat Heritage Organization. And we hope to see you all there. All right. Thank you. Bye, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
You're a very much role model at photography.
Sorry, what?
You're a role model of photography as well.
Oh, thank you. Good. Thanks. Nice to hear that.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.